Hey there, I'm Tucker, and you're watching D&D Daily, where we release new D&D content every day. If you're looking for D&D inspiration and information, then you are in the right spot, because today we're going to talk about the man trying to map out his life, the Cartographer. In order to play the Cartographer, there are three things you're going to need. First, you're going to need to be a Tortle. Second, you're going to need to be an Order of Scribes wizard. And third, you're going to need the archaeologist background in order to get proficiency in Cartographer's tools. So before we get into the background of the Cartographer, the first thing you're going to need to know is about Tortles in general. Tortles are born in a large family. They have a lot of siblings. And their goal in life is to explore, adventure, find new things, and just go everywhere and see everything. Tortle's main goal is just to experience everything the world has to offer. And then right before they die, they go home and they have a family of their own, and the cycle's repeated. So this Tortle in particular, the Cartographer, grew up in a smaller town, and his parents taught him and his siblings everything to know about maps and adventuring and exploring. He particularly took an interest to these maps and all the stories that they told him. His goal in life, though, was to chart out the entire world. He wanted to map it all out. He wanted to write books about everything he saw so that he could give it to everybody in his Tortle village, so that if they weren't that keen on adventuring, they wouldn't have to go. And he hoped that his maps and his books would inspire all those that wanted to go adventure, whether they're a Tortle or not. Through his study of books and maps growing up, he also became adept at the arcane arts. He gained a knowledge of magic and looked forward to see all of the world's secrets that he could interpret through that arcane sense. Now that the Cartographer has come of age, he is setting out with his map-making supplies and his spellbook to go and discover the world and chart it for everyone to see. The personality of the Cartographer is that he is extremely excitable. He would get excited over every little thing, whether it be a bug he's never seen before or a lake that just looks cool. He'd be very excited about everything he sees, especially as it relates to maps and like encyclopedia type stuff. Because of this, he's also going to be very curious. He's going to look around, he's going to look for small things that the DM might not fail to mention unless he is in the party asking for it. And the personality is he's going to come across as kind of a nerd. He's not going to be super physically strong, physically imposing, or charismatic. He's just going to be really focused and excited about his maps. If you want a character to base the Cartographer off of, it would be Jane's dad from Tarzan. In combat, the Cartographer is going to be mainly utility. He's also going to have some buffs and some debuffs depending on what you take, but he's not going to be very keen on fighting. He's going to be more focused on making his maps and helping out his party. However, when he does come into combat, there's going to be two main things he relies on, and that's going to be first, Firebolt, or a similar cantrip to deal damage, and secondly, he's going to use his Find Familiar to give people the bonus action to help. Out of combat, he's going to use his spells and his Manifest Mind feature to make his maps. Manifest Mind is an ability that allows him to project the mind of his spellbook, and it lets him see through its senses up to 300 feet away. So he would use this to send that mind right 300 feet straight up to get an aerial view of the place he's trying to map out. He's also going to dive in deep into learning about the locations they're in, whether that be a forest, a jungle, a city, a town. He's going to try and learn everything he can about it. So as a DM, it would really help you to flesh out your towns and your areas. And he's always going to be seeking out new knowledge. If he's talking to somebody, he'd be asking a lot of questions, trying to milk all the knowledge he can out of them. In the Cartographer's downtime, he's going to be very focused on making his maps, and he's going to be focused on writing his encyclopedia or his index and writing down everything he learns. Now, the key mechanics of the Cartographer come down to a couple things. First, he's going to need the Keen Mind feat. This allows him to have a very, very good memory, which is going to be great for his map making and for writing down his index, and it's going to be great just for his personality of trying to learn everything he can. Second, that Manifest Mind from his spellbook, which we talked about earlier, is really crucial to his map making abilities. Third, he is going to need a proficiency in Cartographer tools. No Cartographer can be a Cartographer without map-making experience. And those Cartographer tools that he gets from his archaeologist background are going to be crucial for this character. When picking spells for the Cartographer, keep in mind that he's going to pick spells that are going to help him make his maps. So this could be things like Find Familiar, Unseen Servant, or it could be things that help him get into hard to reach places, like Fly or Misty Step, that help him get into those places that he wouldn't otherwise be able to map out. Because of this, his spells might not be the strongest for combat, but I'm sure if you could find some unique ways to use those spells in combat. And the weaknesses of the Cartographer are fairly straight up. He is not going to be optimized for combat. He's a Tortle, so he has a pretty high AC, but other than that, in combat, he shouldn't have that much going on for him. Because the vibe of his spells is focused around map making, he might have a couple utility spells and buffs and debuffs, but he's probably not going to have that many. So be careful about running into a fight with this guy, though his curiosity might be what ends him. As an NPC, I would use the Cartographer as a guide. I would use him kind of as a DMPC so that he can guide the party around a city, a town, or a place in the wild that he's trying to show them. As a DM, it really allows you to showcase a place that you've made and show off all the things that you want to your party. And it also allows you to forecast some things to them. And he's a pretty good DMPC because he's not going to overpower the party, or he's not going to tip the combat balance. He's really just going to let the party shine, but he's going to kind of be a more of a DM NPC out of combat than in combat. And I think he would also be a good way for the DM to move players from point A to point B if you, 1, need to railroad them, or 2, need to give them a reason to travel somewhere, or want to show them a new place. He could hire the party to help escort him from point A to point B. Or another side quest is he would lead them or hire them on an expedition to research an old dungeon or an old ruin that was just discovered. He would need their help in protecting him and in finding out everything he can about this dungeon. I think the key note to hit with the Cartographer is that he is going to be studious. He's not going to be great in combat, but he's going to be so focused on his maps and his studies that it's going to be really important for him to focus on those things. So that key note that I would try to hit is a man focused on his maps so much that he kind of loses time for everything else. How would you use the Cartographer in your game? Let us know in the comments below. And if you have any ideas on what you would do to make them better, let us know. We're always willing to adapt those and make it better for everyone else that's watching this video. And on the next episode of D&D Flavor Builds, we're going to be talking about Wuthrad, the end of Elvenkind. So make sure to hit that subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss it. See ya!